You are strapped into a chair that is spinning you fast enough to kill you if your training fails. The centrifuge does not care about your resume. Your vision is closing in at the edges, a gray tunnel eating the light. Your hands are 11 Gs heavy. Somewhere behind the glass, a flight surgeon is watching a heart monitor, and the line on it is the only thing standing between you and the astronaut corps. A voice in your headset says your name. You do not answer. You cannot. This is the moment that ends most careers in this room. Not the rocket, not the vacuum of space. A spinning chair in a windowless building in Texas. And this is the story of how a kid who failed his first flight physical ended up wearing a NASA patch anyway. Level 1. The kid who couldn't stop looking up. You are 9 years old. You are lying on a trampoline in the backyard after dark, and your neighbor is pointing at a moving light crossing the sky that is neither a plane nor a star. That's the International Space Station, he says. People are living up there right now. You do not sleep that night. You do not really sleep right for the next 30 years. You check out every library book on the Apollo program until the librarian starts setting them aside for you before you ask. You build a model of the space shuttle from a kit and glue your fingers together twice. You fail a math test in the 4th grade and cry in the bathroom, not because of the grade, but because somewhere in your 9-year-old brain you have already decided that math is the price of admission to space, and you just proved you can't pay it. Your mom finds you on the bathroom floor. She does not tell you it doesn't matter. She tells you it matters enough to go fix. You go back inside, and you do the test corrections twice. Level 2. The applicant and the number nobody tells you. You are 28 years old. Here is the part nobody puts on the inspirational poster. Roughly 18,000 people apply to NASA's astronaut program in a given selection cycle. NASA selects somewhere between 10 and 12. That is not a long shot. That is a lottery with a military-grade application process attached to it. You are not applying with a dream and a smile. You are applying with a master's degree in aerospace engineering, 2,000 hours of flight time as a test pilot, a body that passes a flight physical most 30-year-olds would fail, and a stack of recommendation letters from people who have personally watched you not panic while something expensive was on fire. And you are still, mathematically, almost certainly about to be rejected. You submit the application at 11:47 p.m., the night before the deadline, the way everyone secretly does. You do not hear back for 8 months. You build a life in the silence. You do not put it on hold. You learn, watching other applicants around you, that the ones who treat this like a pause button on their real life are the ones who fall apart when the answer is no. The answer is no. You do not get the interview. You sit in your car in a parking lot for 11 minutes before you can make yourself drive home. Level 3. The second application, and the man who teaches you the rule. You are 30 years old. You apply again. This time, a retired astronaut named Colonel Aldridge Voss agrees to do a mock interview panel with you. He flew 2 shuttle missions in the 90s. He has the specific, unbothered calm of a man who has personally watched the curvature of the Earth and found it less stressful than a budget meeting. He asks you why you want to go to space. You give him the answer you practiced. Exploration. Human achievement. Pushing the boundary of what we know. Voss says nothing for a long moment. Then he says, "That's the answer you think NASA wants. Try the true one." You sit there, and the true answer comes out smaller and stranger than you expected. You say you want to go because you have never, not once in your whole life, stopped feeling like you were standing in the wrong room. And up there, looking back at all of it, you think you might finally understand the room you were supposed to be in. Voss nods slowly. "Good," he says. "Now here's the only rule that matters in this building. You don't get picked for wanting it the most. You get picked for being the safest person in the room when everything goes wrong. Wanting it gets you to the parking lot. Calm gets you to orbit. You don't get picked for wanting it. You get picked for staying calm when it matters. You will hear that rule in your headset 20 years from now, with your life depending on it. Level 4. The call, and the thing they don't tell you about it. You are 32 years old. The phone call comes on a Tuesday. It always comes on a Tuesday, you will later learn. Some quiet NASA tradition nobody officially admits to. The voice on the other end identifies herself, asks if you're sitting down, and tells you that out of 18,000 applicants, you are one of the ones selected to report to Houston as an astronaut candidate. You do not say anything for 4 full seconds. She waits. She has done this call before. You call your mom. She is the one who made you finish the math corrections at 9 years old. She does not say "I told you so." She just says, "Good. Now go pay attention to everything. Here is the thing nobody tells you about getting the call. It does not feel like the finish line. It feels like the moment the actual test begins. Level 5. The candidate, and the pool that tries to drown you. You are an astronaut candidate now. ASCAN, for short, is a word that sounds like an insult and is worn like a badge. Candidacy lasts roughly 2 years, and at the end of it, NASA decides whether you actually become an astronaut or whether you quietly become someone with a great story and a government job. You learn to fly the T-38 supersonic jet, sitting in the back seat while an instructor pilot in the front decides, daily, whether you are someone who freezes under pressure or someone who doesn't. You train in the Neutral Buoyancy Laboratory, a pool so large it could swallow 6 Olympic pools, wearing a spacesuit that weighs more than you do, simulating a spacewalk for 6 hours at a time while your forearms cramp into claws inside thick gloves. You learn Russian, badly at first, because half the missions launch from Kazakhstan, and an astronaut who can't communicate on the Soyuz is a liability wearing a flight suit. And you go back into the centrifuge, the one that ends careers. You spin until your vision tunnels, until your own name in your headset sounds like it's coming from underwater, and you do the thing Voss taught you. You do not fight the panic. You still go inside it. The flight surgeon watches the line on the monitor hold steady. You pass. Not everyone in your candidate class does. You watch 2 people in your cohort quietly disappear from the program over those 2 years. Not failures exactly, just people for whom the math of risk and family and fear added up differently. Nobody talks about them again. Their absence is the loudest thing in the room. Level 6. The astronaut who has never been to space. You are 34. You graduate candidacy. You are, officially, an astronaut. You are also told, in the same week, that the average wait between earning your wings and your first actual spaceflight is measured in years, not months. Some astronauts wait a decade. Some excellent, qualified, fully trained astronauts never fly at all, retiring with the title and without the ride. This is the level nobody warns you about, because it doesn't make for a good movie trailer. You spend your days in mission control as a Capcom, the voice that talks to astronauts who are in space while you are not. You sit at a console, and you say, "Copy that," to people living the exact life you trained for, while your own boots stay on the ground. It is not bitter most days. Most days, it is a privilege. Some nights, it is the loneliest job in the building. You train other astronauts. You support other missions. You build hardware procedures for flights you may never personally fly. You watch younger candidates, the new ASCANs, walk the same halls you walked 9 years ago, faces full of a hope you still remember, and have learned to carry more quietly. You start to understand what Voss meant. Wanting it doesn't get you there. And sometimes, even being ready doesn't get you there on your own timeline. You wait anyway. Because the alternative is leaving, and you have never once, since the trampoline in the backyard, wanted to leave. Level 7. The assignment. You are 39 years old. Your chief astronaut calls you into an office that has ended careers and made them in the same 15-minute span. You are assigned to a crew, a 6-month mission to the International Space Station. Launch in 14 months. Your name, after 11 years, is finally going on a flight manifest instead of a Capcom headset. You call your mom first, the way you have called her first since you were 9 years old, failing a math test on a bathroom floor. She is quiet for a moment. Then she says the same 4 words she said the day you got the candidate call. Good. Pay attention. You spend the next 14 months training with your crewmates, as if your lives depend on each other, because they will. You learn every system on the Soyuz and the station until you can rebuild them with your eyes closed. You learn your crewmates' families, their fears, the small noise one of them makes when nervous. Because in space, the smallest detail about the person beside you can be the difference between a crisis and a Tuesday. The night before you fly to Kazakhstan for launch, you call your mom again. She does not say she's scared. She has never told you that, not once, in 30 years of watching you chase this. You find out only years later that she nearly didn't pick up the phone that night, because she didn't trust her voice not to break. Level 8. The launch. You are strapped into a Soyuz capsule on top of a rocket holding the explosive force of a small controlled disaster, and you are, against every rational fear response your body has, completely calm. This is Voss's rule, finally fully understood. You are not calm because you are not afraid. You are calm because 11 years of training taught your body what to do with the fear, instead of letting the fear decide for you. The countdown reaches 0. The acceleration presses you into your seat with a force that flattens the breath out of you, and the small window beside your head shows the sky going from blue to deep blue to black, faster than your mind can fully process it. 8 minutes and 42 seconds after liftoff, you are weightless. Your pen, unclipped from your sleeve pocket, drifts gently in front of your face. You start laughing, and you cannot stop, and your crewmate beside you is doing the same thing, and neither of you is embarrassed, because every astronaut in history has done precisely this in precisely this moment. You think of the trampoline. You think of the neighbor pointing at a light in the sky. You think for one full second that the 9-year-old version of you would not believe a single part of this. Level 9, the spacewalk, and the 4 minutes that matter most. You are 40 years old, 11 weeks into your mission, and you are outside the International Space Station. Just you, a suit, and 400 kilometers of space between your boots and the Earth turning silently beneath them. You are repairing a piece of external hardware that has failed, working with gloved hands so thick that threading a bolt feels like trying to write your name wearing oven mitts. And then your suit's caution and warning system lights up. A pressure reading inside your suit is dropping faster than the normal tolerance. This is the moment they train you for and pray you never need. Your training partner, who you have flown thousands of training hours beside, who knows the small nervous noise you make under stress, who has spent 14 months learning exactly who you are under pressure, is on the other end of the comm line. Your heart rate spikes. You can feel the old centrifuge panic trying to climb back up your throat. You hear Voss's voice, 20 years old now, in your memory. Clear. You don't get picked for wanting it the most. You get picked for staying calm when it matters. You go still inside the fear, the way you did in that spinning chair in Houston a lifetime ago. You work the checklist. You isolate the leak. You make the call to abort the spacewalk and return to the airlock, not because you panicked, but because the procedure said to, and panic was never what decided it. 4 minutes after the warning, you are back inside the airlock, breathing normally, alive, and your training partner's voice on the comm is shaking slightly, even though yours isn't. You did not fly to space to be a hero. You flew to be the safest person in the room when everything went wrong. You finally understand that this was the whole rule, the whole time. Level 10, the veteran, and the next kid on the trampoline. You are 58 years old. You flew 2 more missions after that one. You commanded the 3rd. You logged more days in space than the 9-year-old on the trampoline could have counted if you'd told him the number out loud. Now you train candidates instead of being one. You sit on selection panels, and you watch 18,000 applications get narrowed down to a room of nervous, overqualified strangers, and you ask one of them why they want to go to space. She gives you the rehearsed answer. Exploration, human achievement. You wait. You let the silence sit exactly as long as Voss once let it sit with you. That's the answer you think we want, you say. Try the true one. She sits there, and something in her face changes, the way yours once did, and the real answer comes out smaller and truer than the first one. You nod slowly, the way a man once nodded at you in a room very much like this one. Good, you say. Now here's the only rule that matters in this building. You watch her write it down like it's the most important sentence anyone has ever told her. It is. Voss passed away 2 years ago. You spoke at the service. You did not tell the room about the centrifuge, or Kazakhstan, or the 4 minutes outside the station with a suit losing pressure. You told them the only thing that mattered. He taught you that calm is a decision, not a feeling, and you have spent your whole adult life proving he was right. Somewhere tonight, in a backyard you will never see, a kid is lying on a trampoline after dark, watching a light cross the sky that is not a plane and not a star. A parent points up and says people are living up there right now. The kid does not sleep well that night. They will not really sleep right for the next 30 years. They do not know about the 18,000 applicants, or the centrifuge, or the 4 minutes that test everything a person is made of. They just know they cannot stop looking up. They will learn the rest. They always do. The cycle continues.